Congratulations, you've graduated. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Nurse Lee, and on my channel I talk about nursing, beauty, and lifestyle. So if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please do so right now. And now that you've done that, thank you so much. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications so that you'll be notified when I post my videos. So congratulations, you all have made it through nursing school. I am also very proud of you all. I know nursing school is not an easy journey to get through, but you've made it through and you should be very proud of yourself. I am very proud of you all, and now that you've made it through nursing school, you've graduated, it is time to pass that NCLEX exam so that you can be practicing as a licensed registered nurse. So today's video is just, I'm basically going to be telling you guys some tips and advice that helped me pass my NCLEX exam on the first try. Yes, it was only by the grace of God, first and foremost, but I also did some things that helped me pass on the first try, and I hope that me sharing this with you will also help you pass your NCLEX on the first try. If you see me looking down a lot, I have it all organized, laid out on my phone. Just in case you keep seeing me look down, that's the reason. So let's get right into these tips that helped me pass my NCLEX on the first try. Tip number one, I would say that I did that helped me was to study in a quiet environment. Yes, it is very important to eliminate distractions, eliminate as much distractions as possible. I went to the library to study for my NCLEX exam. I could not study at my house just because I didn't have my own place. So I had to go to the library where it was nice and quiet to study. And I stayed in the library for like 6 to 8 hours. The weekends were tough because the library didn't stay open as long on the weekends as it did on the weekdays. So I had to really catch those times during the weekends so that I would get all my studying in. So definitely studying in a quiet environment makes a huge difference. It allows you to concentrate and really process the information that you're studying. So that would be tip number one. And I also went to the library every day. I tried my best to go every day, and it was not easy for me. Like, actually getting up, moving locations to study was not easy for me. So I had to really push myself and, like, you know, talk to myself like, you know, you got through nursing school. You cannot practice as a nurse until you pass your NCLEX. So you need to get up, go to the library and get your studying in. And all that motivational self-talk really helped me to make it to the library every day and study. Tip number two that helped me, I would say, is to pick at least 2 resources to study from. I picked 2 resources to study from, and that kept me organized. I did not try to like gather a whole bunch of textbooks and online courses because I just knew that would put me off track, and that would kind of like confuse me in a way. Like, it wouldn't give me any kind of structure. So it wouldn't give me any kind of structure. So what I did was I picked 2 resources, one of them being UWorld. I picked UWorld and another resource to study from, and that really helped me a lot. I can do another video to get more in depth on how UWorld helped me, and hopefully that could help you too. So pick at least 2 resources. It doesn't have to be UWorld, whatever works best for you. Just don't overwhelm yourself with too many resources because that could be confusing, and that's probably wouldn't be the best option. If you're the type of person who, you know, can study from multiple resources, then kudos to you. But like I said, that kept me, me dabbling in different resources kept me disorganized, and that's why I limited it to 2 resources to study from. Tip number 3, I would say do practice questions every day. Practice questions every day is what really helped me to pass on the first try, because I exposed myself to as many questions as possible. And I was just doing hella questions, like so many questions each and every day, so that if the question was to come up on the exam, I would be more familiar with it. Or if a question similar to what I studied were to come up on the exam, I would know how to answer the question. So I did about, I would say 50 questions per day. I started off with 50 questions per day. And as I got closer and closer to my exam, I increased the number of questions I would do a day. So I did, like I said, 50 questions a day, every day, and like 2 to 3 weeks prior to my exam, I increased it to like 75 questions per day. That really helped me out. And starting off with a smaller number of questions, it really gave me more time to analyze the questions properly and to really study and know why the question is right or why the question was wrong. And then when I understood that, like I said, I would increase the numbers as the weeks went on, and I got more quicker at answering questions. It didn't take me as long, so I was able to complete more questions per day as time progressed forward. As time goes forward and it gets closer to your exam, you definitely want to hit that 75 questions per day at least, because that is the minimum on the NCLEX exam, is 75 questions. So if you're comfortable with taking 75 questions, then you should be fine on your NCLEX exam. Okay, I think this is now tip number 4. Tip number 4, you want to review the questions you got wrong and read the rationale to understand why you got it wrong. It's also very important to read the rationales to the questions that you got wrong, because that will really help you break down the question and know why you got it wrong. I personally used a notebook to help me process everything. I feel as though when I write things down, it really helps me to analyze the questions better. So I did have a notebook, and I wrote down all the questions I got wrong, including the rationale, and I studied it every day to make sure I understood why I got that question wrong. So, and UWorld gave really good rationales as to why the questions were wrong, detailed rationales, clear rationales as to why the question was wrong. So there was no way I wasn't going to understand it. So they really broke it down well for me to understand. So I do appreciate UWorld for those rationales. So yes, read the rationales, understand the rationales before you move on to the next set of questions. Tip number 5, I would say to review your drug cards every day. I'm pretty sure in nursing school you guys were taught how to make drug cards for your medications. I know that I had to make drug cards for my medications to study every day to pass my exams in nursing school. So you should still have those drug cards. And my advice would be to continue to study those drug cards and understand the medications. Also, in my nursing school, my med-surg professor, he gave us a list of most commonly used drugs. So that was really helpful. And it broke it down as to the mechanism of action, adverse effects, the usage of it, like education that you need to tell your patient before you give them the medication. The list really broke down the drugs pretty well. So I used that list, that medication list, and put it into drug cards so that it's easier for me to carry around and study it whenever I was able to study the medications. And on my NCLEX exam, I personally did not have drug questions. I didn't really have too many medication questions, probably like 2 or 3 at most, but it's still good to practice and study those medications because you never know. Everyone's exam is different. Just because I didn't have many questions on medications on my NCLEX exam, that doesn't mean it's going to be the same for you. So to be on the safer side, study your medications. And also do the dosage practice as well, the dosage calculations, because you never know, that may pop up on your exam as well. So I purchased a dosage calculation book from Amazon, the newest edition. Excuse me, and that helped me to practice a lot of dosage calculations. I did not have one dosage calculation on my NCLEX exam, but like I said, to be on the safe side, just to clear out everything, study dosage calculations because you never know, it may be on your exam. And I took my nursing exam last year, 2019, and I'm now recording this video almost a year later. Now that it's 2020 and this pandemic is going on, there's been a few changes to the NCLEX exam. I encourage you all to visit the website NCSBN.org to know the recent updates regarding the NCLEX exam, just because this pandemic has changed a lot in the world, and they do have new guidelines as to what you need to follow to prepare you to take your NCLEX, and just what you need to know as you're studying for your NCLEX. I visited the website personally myself, and I saw on there that some of the changes that I saw were that now you're taking the questions, the minimum questions are now pushed back to 60 questions instead of 75. When I had to take it, it was obviously 75, but now it is 60 questions, and you have a time frame of 4 hours to answer the questions. So they've changed it quite a bit, and yeah, take that into consideration. But it's only for a specific time frame. I forget the time period, so that's why I'm encouraging you guys to go to see when that actually takes in effect. So visit that ncsbn.org website to read the guidelines that are in place until further notice. Before I forget, I do want to mention one last thing. Try your best to practice as many select all that apply questions as much as possible. I had so many select all that apply questions on my NCLEX exam. It was ridiculous, to the point where I started getting scared because it's like select all that apply questions were my weakness. I practiced it a lot when I was studying, but I was just surprised at how many was on my actual NCLEX exam. So study, practice as many select all that apply questions, know why the ones are wrong, and the ones that are right, know why those are right. Just remember that select all that apply could mean that one answer is correct or all of the answers are correct, which boggles my mind each and every time, but it is what it is. So those select all that apply questions can be very tricky. So I would encourage you to study as many or select all that apply questions, do as many of those questions as you can to really grasp how to answer those questions. Because I had a lot of those questions on my NCLEX exam. So I hope these tips that I've given you will be very helpful for you and will help you pass your NCLEX exam on the first try. This is what I did. This is what worked for me. Hopefully it will work for you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you. Bye.